Yes, there are some privileges that women have that men don't, but also there's privileges that men have that women don't. I don't think women are more privileged in our society because I could get a woman pregnant and I could just run away.
They could get you.
Well, they
Attention to reality, you know, they get demonized, and I'm just one of these soldiers out here trying to bring attention back to reality.
Or what the hell she asked? I was waiting for her to
She's talking about the beauty
tie it in.
standard. These black folks' minds are so warped. I understand why this particular person, the one in the blue, would say that because she's trying to maximize her pool of potential suitors. Bruh, I'm really gonna try to go into this as neutral. I ain't gonna say neutral. I'm gonna try to go into this trying to understand the opposition's perspective best I can, right? Male feminist versus female anti-feminist. That's cute though, right? They got a bunch of men out here screaming for feminism and the women out here going against feminism. Jubilee, y'all motherfuckers, y'all know what the fuck y'all doing. Yeah, I'm gonna try my best. Right, let's do it. Are men falling behind male feminists versus female anti-feminists? Find a middle ground. Let's go. That motherfucker can't even wipe his ass. That motherfucker swole as
Women
shit.
have more privileges today than men.
I would definitely step up.
I went back and forth on this one, thinking about the difference between more and different. I think women have distinctly different privileges than men have, but with this new feminist movement that is arising, more of the third, fourth wave, we are finding, I think, that women are placed and pedestalized above men in a lot of ways. There's affirmative action hiring and scholarships where women, sometimes even regardless of academic standing or achievement, are prioritized above men. But men also have different privileges that they get to access. I struggle to say more, but I think I do agree with the feminist movement now there is more.
If you are born into this life with a vagina, you inherently have 10 times more privilege than a man. From the time they are little, girls are always like doted on and you're so pretty and cute.
Very coddled.
They're coddled,
Yeah.
right? As they should be, you know?
Yeah.
We want that feminine, nurturing energy in them. You can kind of be a degenerate woman and have a hot body and be a millionaire on OnlyFans. Yes. Men don't have that privilege. Now, women don't have to like work to get a guy. They're just hot. And then guys come to them and spend their resources on them. A man has to prove himself. He has to build a body. He has to make money. He has to build influence. He has to become a protector, a provider. Women just have that naturally by just having a vagina, as I said.
That's why it's frustrating, because the feminist movement has been all about women acting like they don't have rights and acting like they have it pretty hard in the modern day world. I can't think of a single thing that I don't have that a guy has, or
that they only have. I would say the one thing I would say is the safety thing. That's the only thing that I would say is that women are disadvantaged from, by nature, women are not as physically strong. I mean, you're physically strong, but as physically strong.
I'll take it.
It's great bicep.
When I hear privilege, I'm thinking about like societal privileges. You know what I'm saying? Like biology, I don't really consider privileges that come from biology the privileges that we're talking about, thinking about how society treats women versus men. So, but regardless, I'm just sitting here trying to think of what the men are going to say to oppose this.
Woman, you're going to feel some type of way sometimes,
That's
right?
why we need guns.
Well, there you go.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the judicial system. When it comes to, let's say, domestic dispute, if a woman calls the police, they automatically show up, arrest the man. The Duluth model, I think is how you pronounced it. And that's already in place. It's not necessarily like a right or anything, but it's certainly in all of the police departments. Is if feminism is all about equality, why would you automatically arrest a man? When they arrest him, his name is in the newspaper automatically. The fact that a woman can say Jane Doe and she doesn't have to put her name out there, what skin in the game is there?
And there's so many instances of that. I know men personally who have had domestic violence within the relationship with children involved, unfortunately. And the woman attacked the man in front of the child, and he still I know 2 instances personally, and he's still fighting to get the child back. That's from the Me Too movement. Congratulations. You guys got that.
It kind of invalidates the women who do come forward and who have faced rape and sexual assault and all of that, because then it kind of turned into a Twitter hashtag.
That's correct.
Where women were like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna join, like, this seems fun. Like,
For clout.
it's not
For
fun.
clout.
I think it's a mixed bag. I don't think the Me Too movement was inherently harmful. It's the Me Too movement when you
Right.
couple it with something like believe all women. That's when it
Yes.
becomes
And the
inherently harmful.
victimization
It
of women who
encouraged people.
aren't really victims.
The prompt is, do women have more privileges? We have privileges simply by virtue of being women. We have privileges with affirmative action. We have privileges in family court, and we have privileges as far as being believed and forgiven. It's that's something that should be acknowledged.
That's correct.
She be
Can I have the
cooking.
disagree step forward?
I appreciated the distinction of more versus different privileges. You can't just use a broad brush and paint the entire debate and say, all right, well, this is men have more than women, that's it. Like,
That's not a man. It's not a man.
women that must inherently then have no privileges. That's not how it works. And that's where we start to get into the idea of like intersectionality, where another woman who had a different experience, if it was a trans woman, if it was a woman of color, if it was
But
a
I
woman
don't
who
think we're
was,
including trans women into feminism.
and I
That's
think
a
we definitely
whole other-
should.
I don't
Like,
think we should.
That's a man. I mean, that's not a man, bro. That's a woman.
To feminism.
And I
That's
think
a
we definitely
whole
should.
It's irrelevant,
Like,
but I'm just making
at
observations.
all. I think that trans women should not be a part of the feminist movement because a man, just because they, wake up and feel like they can be a woman one day, could come in and then suddenly know what it's like to have a period or know what it's like to have a child. It's anything from men replacing women in sports to men replacing women on podcasts during Women's Month and when we're talking about women's health, or you've even got biological men who think they're women going to the White House speaking on behalf of all women.
I do have a question for you based on the prompt, though, because you've lived in both experiences, at least socially. I'm curious, when you
Told
transitioned
you.
to male and people started perceiving you as male,
Told
like most
you.
people did today, what privileges changed for you, or what did you see enter your life that you didn't have before?
Yeah, and that's sort of where a lot of my beliefs in feminism do lie, is because being out into the world as a gay woman was the way I was seen. Men treated me definitely not nearly as well as they did. I was bullied in school. I had people call me slurs, and it seemed like it was.
But that's not solely based on you being a woman. That's you being a gay woman as well. Those are entirely two different things. I'm not saying that it's acceptable, but that's a big distinction between you being a woman and being a gay woman. And of course, men typically treat men differently than they treat women, and vice versa. Women typically treat men differently than they treat women.
Because I was threatening to like the male structure that we are in, where it's like male and female, because I was a female who liked females, I was somehow infringing on that, and so they didn't like me. Things changed.
I think that motherfucker made that shit up in their head. Unless men are out here really that fucking weak that you threatened by a lesbian out here taking women, like I think that's something they made up in their head, unless they was around a bunch of bigots or a bunch of insecure men. But to encounter that much, to believe that that's how most men saw you, to believe that you're less privileged as a lesbian woman because most men see you that way as a threat or whatever the hell you said. I think that's an inaccurate assessment of what was taking place.
Naturally, when you socially transition and are perceived by the world in a different way, when I transitioned from being perceived as female to the world to just pretty much passing or blending full-time as male, was that I got a lot more respect from other men. People listened to me and took me seriously. In a social passing setting, people aren't going to harass women who are around me if I'm walking with them at night, which is just a benefit I never thought about.
It's like going tick for tack. Like men are gonna have more privileges in a male setting, right? Like locker room talk, things of that nature. Women aren't invited in those type of environments. So of course, men treat men differently than they treat women. You're just calling out a reality. Is that a privilege? No. And then your experience was entirely different as a lesbian woman. You know what I mean? You didn't get to see the benefits of being a heterosexual woman. I bet that experience was entirely different as well. Women always bring that up, that make these arguments. But like, who gets attacked more at night, women or men? Men, but women always use that as an excuse. or reason why they feel less privileged when men get attacked way more walking damn alleys at night than women do.
So I say that yes, there are some privileges that women have that men don't, but also there's privileges that men have that women don't. I don't think women are more privileged in our society because I could get a woman pregnant and I could just run away.
They could get you
Well,
for
they can
child
get you for
support.
child support, which they
But are you
do.
saying she can't run away?
That's what you're gonna come up with, bro? When you're gonna come up with privileges, you're gonna use that as a privilege, bro? Like, have you ever heard of fucking child support, motherfucker? You know what I mean? Ain't no Reddit. You can't just knock a bitch up and get the hell on. I mean, you could try, but the world don't work that way, bro. But out of all the privileges, you're gonna use that. Men can that doesn't exist, bro. That doesn't exist, dog. The government will come after that ass.
Go to jail.
You're saying
They could
she
take
can't
your
run away
money.
from the pregnancy?
But you could actually physically leave. I know what you're saying.
At the end of the day, like, I don't see women having more privileges than men because we don't have the same. There's no way to objectively measure it.
Well, and in the scenario that you pointed out,
List
I mean,
them.
if a woman was pregnant, she wouldn't be able to get an abortion in most
In some
parts
states,
of the
now,
country.
yes.
She can go somewhere where they get the
some
fucking
states.
abortion.
That's a
Absolutely
major
true as well.
disadvantage. There's more world leaders who are male, and typically I think
Good, and
leadership.
that's a good thing.
I know it's
Well, he
weird
was
coming
talking
from
to
me,
me.
but I do want to know, it doesn't bum you out that it's less likely for a woman to become president?
I don't feel bummed out because I know that if I want to pursue something that I want to do, I have every capability to do it in this country.
Facts.
I don't feel bummed out. Women should not be in positions of extreme leadership like presidents, et cetera, because we're too emotional.
I see what you're coming from, but I couldn't make that broad statement. You know what I mean? And if it's fair, it ain't no fucking affirmative action, liberal, equality of outcome type of shit, and this woman deserves, she earned her right to be the fucking president of the United States, I'll be in full support of it, but she earned that shit. But if it's like some like agenda being pushed just to have a woman in office because she's a fucking woman, nah, fuck that. Right, but you know what I'm saying? There's good women leaders out there. As much as I'm out here screaming for masculinity and for men to be men and, you know, get our nuts back and shit, I couldn't paint all women with a brush of saying they're too emotional to have positions of power. There's exceptions to the rule, and she's making it an absolute thing. Or women can never be in a leadership position because they're too emotional. You got some gunners out there. If a fucking woman earns her right to be in a leadership role and she's out here competed with men and folded them on her way up there, I ain't got no issue with that, bro. Kudos to you. But at the end of the day, it's women competing in men's spaces. You don't have to be that motherfucker as a woman to come out here in these men-dominated fields and win. And I respect any woman that can go in a fucking male-dominated space and go out there and eat and compete, you know, with men shoulder to shoulder in whatever profession it is. That's hard.
I'm not saying that men can't be emotional.
Like, we had a
Men are
president,
more
we had a president
logical.
who would literally just
And now
go
we
on
have a
Twitter
president whose
every
brain
day,
doesn't
every
work.
second.
Wait, one person so she can hear us.
To be logical and to be sound is not something defined by gender. It's just something defined by your own
The
psychology.
left and right brain, it
That's just
actually
false.
is though.
That's
That's
just
not
false.
false. It's not
Come on,
false.
Matt.
It
Come
is
on.
not
Really?
false.
Really?
No, your question about leadership, I think, is a very poignant question because a lot of people are asking that. Why don't we see more female presidents? Why don't we see more female
They not Amala gonna cook, I already know she is, but women don't want to work as much and for long as hours and want to have kids and want to be families, and men don't give a fuck about that, right? I mean, generally men care less about that than women do. When my girl farted the baby out, I want to work harder to build shit up for the family while she wants to be with the baby more and be mama and shit, just the way it goes. Women have less of a desire to focus on career down the long road. They want to be mamas and have families and shit and be at the crib with the babies and shit. Dudes don't operate that fucking.
People are asking that. Why don't we see more female presidents? Why don't we see more female CEOs or Fortune 500 companies?
A lot of work.
And again, it goes back to those gender differences. There will be women who will be exceptions to the generalized rule of what it means to be feminine, and those women you will see succeed in extreme leadership. But we should also discuss what the conditions of extreme leadership are. We're talking 80-hour work weeks, subscribing yourself to your career and nothing else.
Forgoing family and children.
Psychologically and biologically, women tend to lean in the direction of not making those choices for themselves, while men are highly competitive, they are highly analytical, systematic,
Regardless
they're
of the
willing
family
to put in that
situation.
time and take extreme measures to gain career status.
Exactly.
But in an
Perfectly
egalitarian
said.
society, it's about having that choice to make that decision. That's what feminism
But
is about.
they got the fucking, they have the choice to fucking make that decision, bro. What are you talking about? Hey, the men have not made a valid point at all. They haven't made a valid point at all. Only thing they said is, you know what I'm saying, it's not more, it's just different. There's not, women don't have more privileges, it's different privileges, but I would argue, I would counter that, and let's list the most important ones. Let's list the most life-affecting, life-altering ones, right? And let's see who has more of them. And women gonna crush men all day.
But we already have that choice.
We
If
have
I want to go
But
own
it's
my own
being-
company,
it's
I
being
can.
restricted.
Like I said in the beginning, we've all agreed that the beginning of feminism was going in the right
Humanizing
direction.
women,
It
right?
was humanizing women. It was making them equal to men.
Now
It was
it's a-
giving us the same opportunities so that we can go
Make
vote,
women-
so
now
that I
trying to
can
make
go get a
women more
job,
superior.
so that I can drive a car. Like
She can
there's
run for
other
president if
countries
she wants.
that I know that we weren't talking about other countries, but if you want to talk about feminism, go protect the women who get beat up for driving a car. in
Talk
other
that
countries.
shit.